Hello everybody, and welcome back to another album analysis video. I'm really happy that y'all actually enjoyed the Kanye one decently, and I know I had the goofy shirt on, but it fit. I feel like this one kind of matches the vibe just color-wise. Like, I don't know, I don't really have a shirt that's any better, but like, color-wise it matches. I have a lot of blues. But yeah, like, I'm so glad y'all like the first one. Music is something that's so important to me, and I'm glad that y'all actually cared to watch the first video. I really have started broadening like my scope on music, and I understand that it's like, it might seem basic, but that's because, I don't know, I used to be one of those people that kind of docked a lot of mainstream stuff, and I would listen to mainstream, but it would have to be like punk or something. Like I used to just be that way, and now that I'm actually going into rap instead of writing it all off as like mainstream rap, I'm listening to a lot more albums, and this is kind of like my music journey, but also like a full in-depth analysis of these albums that I've come to enjoy. But in this one, I'm going to be covering J. Cole's 2014 Forest Hills Drive. It's literally become one of my favorite albums ever in the last year. And it was one I had already heard a few songs off of. I had just never listened to it in depth. And I love everything that it represents. I'm going to, of course, tell the story of each song. And, as always, talk about why it is that I care to do this. And also why it is that it's so important and what it all means, in the grand scope of things. But first, before the songs, though, I want to talk briefly about what was going on for J. Cole to set up this album's release. Straight up, now tell me, do you really want to love me forever? J. Cole grew up in Fayetteville, North Carolina. He initially was in a rougher side of town before eventually moving to 2014 Forest Hills Drive. While some people may not think it's the best conditions, it was a lot better than the place his family had lived before. Now they had a 2-story house where he lived with his mom and also his brother, but his dad was never in the picture. Though jumping a lot in time, he went to college but wanted to pursue his music dreams, consistently working to get better at his craft, and eventually ended up getting signed by Jay-Z, who at first rejected him. His first studio album, Cole World: The Sideline Story, wasn't very easy for them to come up with. He couldn't really get into any musical groove, and the label wanted something specific that he didn't really want to do. Though eventually, after coming up with Workout, they pushed together an album that sold decent, but wasn't as good as his prior mixtape, The Come Up, to most true fans. Nor did he feel as passionate about it. Born Sinner after this was a better album, but still feels like he's trying to transition from this Jay-Z protege status, before finally starting his work on 2014 Forest Hills Drive, the main discussion of this video. It had no singles and very little promotion prior to release. This is very different from the artists of the time, as promo was seen as vital for having any success. But it worked out for him. After struggling for a long time to find footing, he went back to his roots and created this wonderful passion project of an album. It has no features and is all J. Cole, which seemed to be the perfect idea. But now, after that longer background, I can actually start talking about the songs. Do you wanna be? The intro immediately poses the questions J. Cole contemplates throughout the album. Do you wanna be happy? I said, do you wanna be free? Do we truly want to be happier, or let the conflicts in our lives lead us? As he literally grew up with a decent living situation as he got older, but wanted to pursue the music industry. It provides the positives and negatives, which is clearly a key idea in the album to keep up with. He describes how many of people anywhere, but even in the industry, use money and drugs to hide their pain. Is that really going to make things better? Is another question we should think about. As he's now risen in the music world, he looks back on his journey and he's proud of it, but doesn't understand whether or not it's really made him happy. I feel like the generic topics we already have set up here is happiness, life, fame, and love. All of these work together to build an intriguing start. I've also kind of divided this video up into 3 chapters. First is home. January 28th is one of my favorite songs off the album, but it's a nice, easy start. It pretty much is exactly about the date. It's the day J. Cole was born, and he describes what makes him different. He immediately starts addressing how his recent successes have made him lose his way, as at this time he felt as if he had let Nas down, who was a huge inspiration, as Nas dished on him. Though again, he talks about how he feels like he's on top now, but has lost himself at the time, and how around him still people he knows are having a rough life. Though when we get to the chorus, it really emphasizes what the song is about.
Don't give them too much you. Don't let them take control. It's one thing you do. Don't let them take your soul.
It represents that inner battle within himself, trying to decide between giving more or less of himself to the game and fans, and discussing how he needs to aim higher and not lose himself. The second verse addresses ongoing social issues surrounding the system, especially toward the African American community, feeling as if the system gives no worth to the lives lost within that community, before moving into how he wants him and those around him in the industry to attempt to get along. He knows egos collide, but wants his community to make society better instead of infighting. Then with verse 3, he emphasizes that idea he's different from all these other rappers who front about who they are, or even those that he respects. He didn't come from a gang background or a crazy upbringing, but still is successful in this industry. The line,
Or you might be Drizzy Drake or Kendrick Lamar, but check the birth date, you ain't the guy.
has aged well in a sense. He isn't a Drake or a Kendrick, but to me he's definitely the in-between. Though with that, we can move to the next song.
Cold world.
Wet Dreams is literally a song about him losing his V-card. And while some may think that's kind of cringe or uncomfortable, they're missing the point. It's clearly a song showing the immaturity and uncomfortable reality that some people experience during adolescence. It describes a story of him wanting to be with this girl and go further than that. And so he plays it off as if he's done it before and acts like he has all this experience.
I can tell you a pro, but baby be gentle, cause I ain't ever did this before, no.
And that's the moment it shows how pointless lying about something like that was. How in reality that everyone at that age or even later on may be uncomfortable with that. People in the media have tried to push this standard that if you don't do anything by X age, then you're awful or something. And I mean, people do that while you're growing up in high school or whatever too. Like it's similar. But this shows what the reality is and how that mentality affects younger populations. It is a decent setup to lead into the next song, at least age range wise. '03 Adolescence immediately starts with this grainy sounding music opening, which to me sets up the atmosphere like we're delving into the mind of J. Cole and seeing this old memory he's pondered on. It literally cuts out at one point like just some old tape that you're putting in. It has Cole discussing how he felt going through this part of adolescence, and his friend had made some money from selling drugs, and this made Cole think maybe this would be something to do to be successful. He doesn't have confidence and describes feeling like a screw-up, wishing for all these material things in the future, which is causing him to miss out on the present at the time. Though on another day, he takes his mom's keys and drives to his friend's house, talking about how much he looks up to him and wants to start selling. But then his friend hits him with this important reality.
Listen, you everything I wanna be, that's why I with you. So how you looking up to me when I look up to you? You about to go get a degree, I'ma be stuck with 2 choices. Either graduate to wait or sell a number 2.
This makes Cole really understand why he even does this, and why he shouldn't follow the same path. He has a bright future, and to throw it away for a short-term gain would be an awful decision. It's the moment that makes him, at the time, change his perspective. He goes from only thinking he can succeed in the streets to now wanting to not pursue that, and instead go to college and follow his dreams. A Tale of Two Cities is one of the more popular songs on the album, and it tells a story from two perspectives. The first verse is from Cole, but also in a narrative sense from a victim of a robbery. It's someone growing up in a more affluent side of town, and they dream about the American dream of a white picket fence and a nice front lawn. He still wanted to see the other side of the neighborhood he lived in, though. He then describes getting held up and robbed. Though when the chorus comes, it covers how everyone says money can't buy happiness, but he wants to figure that out for himself. Though then the song flips, and it describes someone who grows up in a rougher side of town, just dreaming of dealing, and eventually decides to rob someone for financial gain. They go up to the light and rob someone, and it's the robbery victim from the first verse. Though the conclusion of the song is Cole coming to understand why someone in that situation would be desperate enough to do it. They too don't know if money will bring happiness and falter under the same ideal. The most important part of the song, though, in terms of the grander story, is the end, though. It has Cole begging for forgiveness from God for the way he has acted, but also asks God to take him away from the suffering he has dealt with. Though God does give him his wish, it has its consequences, as any wish normally does.
Your wish is my command, my command, my command, but
Your wish is my command is supposed to be God literally saying that to him. Though now Cole is going to get what he wants. But what will this new path hold? Fire Squad is the last before Cole makes that full transition into Hollywood. It's his initial send-off to his hometown. He wants to pursue his dream and leave his hometown behind, and also makes sure to let those know around him he's leaving to the big city. It shows this more resentful side of him, as if he didn't really appreciate his beginnings and that now he's moving on to bigger things. He even says how money was his motivator. The hard beat and tone in his voice definitely conveys this well too. He wanted to become the king of the rap game, but also has a realization that maybe everyone together should be able to. But he still is in this immature state at the time. He starts thinking he's too good for how his past was, and that the only way to be happy is to pursue this opportunity. It's a stark shift in tone, but it keeps building. After this point is when J. Cole is rising to prominence. He's becoming Hollywood Cole. Now we're on to Saint Tropez, which I feel is an underrated track. I don't really understand why people dish on it. It covers the fantastical feeling J. Cole had about rising in the music industry. He now had his opening, and he's on his way to Hollywood. The serene strings in the back really add on to this feeling. And Saint Tropez is a beautiful area that looks like the stereotypical place a super successful person would go. And J. Cole has even said he has never been to Saint Tropez. Pictures of it online just made it seem like a stereotypical dream place to go. It also gives off that high feeling, obviously. The tropical, sublime sound that it gives off just really pushes that. But all of this makes this beautiful blend. It's Hollywood Cole now. And we immediately get another hard beat.
Hollywood Cole.
G.O.M.D. is a song clearly describing what it's like now that he's famous. He feels anger towards those who act as if he can't come back home. The first verse starts off saying,
You know just where I'm at, well let me tell you about it. I put my city on the map, but let me tell you about it.
which to me is showing his forceful nature at this time. He gives off that he isn't sorry for acting in this way or becoming a success, as if everything has been great. He just wants people to lay off of him. He's proud to be Hollywood Cole, but this persona starts to crack in the second verse, where let me tell you about it changes to I won't tell nobody, saying lyrics like,
I wanna go back to Jermaine and I won't tell nobody.
he has started disliking this persona he has given himself to block out what people throw at him. He also starts addressing how so many artists don't sing about love at all. They just want to sing and make it like a club record, which can have its value, but when that's all that's out, it's hurtful to the greater population. It's bad examples to constantly set. He then even has a big verse wanting to engage in competition with other top rappers and encourage fans to quit riding on other people so much. No Role Modelz is definitely the most popular song on the album and emphasizes the whole against Hollywood theme. It addresses the reality that growing up, he didn't have many role models, and that the shallow LA women he's dealt with only had fake reality TV stars as examples. This has caused them to turn out the way they have, and him to lose himself as well. As he indulged in women, he also feels like they deserve it, as him and his friends would bring in them on one-night stands, thinking in some way he was getting back at them for being how they are. It obviously has the big part discussing how he can no longer be fooled by these women into trying to save them. And also a lot of it we hear him talking about these father figures from, TV shows and stuff, because that's all he had. He didn't have any actual father figure to raise him up and treat him any of these values that he's harshly having to find the reality in. Though he does start showing how the Hollywood Cole facade is breaking. He doesn't enjoy this reality and realizes how pointless it is. But he's still on the road back. He stops engaging with these women and wants to go back to his roots. Hello is probably the saddest song on the album, but in a way, it's a great thing. It's a song referencing Cole wanting to talk to a specific girl that was special to him from his past again, one he sees as real, though he realizes it won't be the same because she's moved on. She has kids, and the constant refrain he says throughout seems to show she's unresponsive. Or at least, he isn't hearing what he wants. Also, I just want to add how much I love the beat of this song. It's so pretty and engaging. It's a slow build-up to a quick pace, and then it slows back down. It's a beautiful track that clashes against this sadder song, which I think works well. He realizes how much time he has started to lose and how other people have moved on, and they may have found real happiness while he hasn't. At one point, he thought he was above these people and he thought his success would have brought him that, but it hasn't. So he grasps at straws of the past just to come to understand there's no going back. When you look at the past, everything seems so sad, but it's accepting what was and understanding you must go forward. And that wonderfully brings us into the next song. Apparently, is so well done. The piano works perfectly with the soft beat. But anyways, this song is the full break. Hollywood Cole is gone, and now J. Cole is putting it all together, taking on his past failures and accepting them, wanting to make most of what is left. Referencing his situation with his mom emphasizes this well.
They snatched it from my mama and foreclosed her on a loan. I'm so sorry that I left you there to deal with that alone.
And the chorus brings up how despite his failures, he still can be a good person. He can still find happiness. People like his mom and girlfriend at the time and now wife count on him and believes God is too. Through the chorus, he describes how his dreams, his faith, and others had to lift him to be happy. It inverts the typical biblical ideas. His second verse mainly covers the good parts about his success. It's a hard rapping verse that I think stands above a lot. It even talks about how his first album was made harder to make because of his hype. It made him lose his way. But to me now, he's combined the two aspects of himself in a great way. He has accepted what came before and understands he can still make his future positive. To me, so many people misconstrue this song just because they want to dig on J. Cole or just put down this album because it competed with To Pimp a Butterfly at one point, which may be another video I do, maybe. But I feel like while I don't think it is as good, I still think it is an album that is above so many, and in any other year, it would have beat out any other album around that time. But anyways, Love Yourz is my favorite song on the album next to Apparently. And it's a beautiful song. It addresses what the whole album has been about. He discusses knowing how now there's
snakes in the grass, letting know that he arrived.
Which let him know that he's made it, but what really matters is
heart beating fast, letting know that he alive.
It makes him know he's real. Those moments are what matters. The first verse mainly addresses the idea that the experiences you have along the way are what can be the most beautiful, not necessarily the destination in life. He also addresses how his father caused a pain that lingered on in his mom and him, before saying what builds up to the second verse.
The news is you came a long way. The bad news is you went the wrong way. Think being broke was better.
He then talks about how while you may have all this money or new material items, it doesn't mean anything without happiness, or if you can't experience it with the people you love. Describing how he feels being broke was better. Cole came from a lower class background and understands that it's stressful and money can be tight. He's not saying that they all have to be giddy to experience, these harsh hardships. He's just saying he's realized even at those times, he had those around him who loved him. And that's what brings happiness. It's not the fame, money, fake women, etc. that made him happy. It was realizing the love from the special people in his life are what really did. Before affirming,
but you ain't never gonna be happy till you love yours. Such thing as a life that's better than yours. Love yours. Such thing as a life.
And that's the end of the actual story in 2014 Forest Hills Drive. Though there is a song that's sort of credits. Note to Self is more of a closeout song. It's just J. Cole saying thanks to everyone who made the album possible and appreciating what got it there. Of course, talking about how love is what really matters and brings people together. It's older than time and what brings true happiness. It's long credits, just emphasizing the idea of being thankful that 2014 Forest Hills Drive became a reality. This album will always be an amazing one to me. It's a broader story than some concept albums, but to me, it pushes its themes very well. Just becoming successful isn't gonna fix everything. It's loving what you have that brings true happiness. Loving those small moments with people every day you may take for granted. Sometimes our days can go by so fast, and you may see your parent, partner, or friends and think nothing of it. You may just think that's an expectation you'll always have, and in turn you spend less time with them. You may get lost daydreaming about what could bring you happiness. I especially think about when you're in that adolescent stage of life. While time's moving, all you think about is the future and what could be. That sometimes you don't experience the moment. Then by the end, you wish you had spent all that time and not hurried it away. And even later in life, you might do the same. But in reality, the special moments, love, and happiness are standing right in front of you. But 2014 Forest Hills Drive shows that even when you stumble or fall flat on your face, you can still get back up and work to make things better, and that you also need to spend as much time with those you love as you can, as you never know when you might lose them. You don't need to waste time only thinking about happiness, coming from fantastical success. You need to enjoy the time you have and love your life. Even if things are hard, you still have those you love around you. Don't miss out on life. Love yours. If you've made it to the end, I just want to say thank you for watching another one. I tried to add more editing in this one. but you know, it takes a minute. I keep trying to work it in between college and stuff, and you know, I'm trying my best, but I really wanted to make a video about this album for a while, and it's just really special. And again, thank you for the support on the Kanye video. It's much appreciated. And just supporting me on any video or any part of my channel, whenever you've came around, I appreciate it. I want to keep doing this. You know, I love doing it so much. But I'm happy to now have done another music one. If you enjoyed watching, a like, comment, or subscribing, like, it helps so much. I cannot underestimate that. It helps a lot. But even just your view, I appreciate. I just appreciate for you even taking time out of your day to watch this video. It means the world. And of course, any feedback is appreciated, positive or negative. I've been Colton. Thank you for watching. And as always, stay safe. No such thing as a life that's better than yours. No such thing as a life that's better than yours. No such thing, no such thing.